The following episode contains language and descriptions of violence and self-harm. It may not be appropriate for all listeners, but it was my life. Discretion is advised. What up, what up? Happy Wednesday, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Roll Call with Chappie. I have a very good friend here. You know I like to pick up on dudes at the gym, so here's another one of those right here, Mr. Danny Diaz. Introduce yourself, Danny.
Name's Danny Diaz. I'm a mental performance coach. I do mental performance and leadership with men. And shit, man. I'm here. I'm just excited to rock with you today, man. I've got a colorful past. I've been through a lot of experiences, and ultimately I help people think better, feel better, move better.
Cool. I am excited to have you here. And, you know, I always like to get into the story of how people grew up. You didn't go the prison route, but did a lot of the crimes, and you probably did worse crimes than I got 12 years in prison for. So what was it like growing up as Danny Diaz?
Fucking rad, dude. No. It's, you know, I had a great upbringing. I had great parents. You know, my parents are amazing. They're my heroes. You know, they were always there, loving relationship. But, you know, I think I got a little bit bullied in 7th grade.
Okay.
And then I think in 8th grade I was kind of like, fuck that. Like, I don't want to get bullied anymore. Like, I don't want to get picked on.
Like, that wasn't that fun. I'm going to try and do something different.
Yeah, I'm going to try to do something different. And then it kind of like, I want to say that was probably like really like, it was like where that addiction to that kind of power or recognition or significance really started for me.
For sure.
And so it was great growing up. Started getting into things in 8th grade, you know, smoking, stuff like that.
And then you had a experience somewhat like mine in 8th grade, if you don't mind sharing that a little bit too. I know it's tricky.
Yeah.
Like I said, every time I even say the words back again, it makes me cringe repeating those words, but
yeah, it's got my heart
it's real life,
racing a
bro.
little bit.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so one of the reasons I was excited to come on this show is because I knew that we were, you know, my audience is going to hear things that they've never heard before, which I think is really rad.
Yeah.
And I think it also, you know, what your audience needs is something that I can really help to provide.
Awesome.
And when I heard your story, and I told you this, I was like, you know, we saw each other at the gym again, and, you know, I walk up and the day before, I'm listening to your first podcast with your parents, and I'm on the treadmill and I'm running and I'm like crying at times. And I'm like, this dude's going to walk in and he's going to see me. I'm going to be crying. I'm like, hey man, let's see what's up.
Nice to meet you. I'm crying to your episode.
Know, I'm crying to your podcast, dude.
To give you a little bit of slack, I don't know, and I'm serious, I don't know a single person that's listened to my podcast that hasn't cried. So if you're listening right now and you haven't listened to episode 1, go to episode 1. If you make it through without crying, I'll give you a high five. Let me know.
Hell yeah. And, you know, it choked me up because I could relate intimately to those experiences.
And that's what it's about.
A lot of the things that you went through and the stuff that your parents went through, and like listen to your parents talk about it, like, because I put my parents through hell too.
Yeah.
So to bring it back around, 8th grade, I get like, it's like towards the end of the year, and I get wrapped up in like this sexual assault charge with this girl that was like, it was just I mean, when I think about it, like I was so young and I didn't know how to process any of it, and it was all bullshit.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and basically it was a girl that like me and her were hooking up. Like we all live in the same neighborhood.
Yeah.
Like we all grew up together. Like we're hanging out, you know, we go to our boys' house, smoke weed, hook up, you know, and like, and like, it was just this weird thing where like she came home, like her parents came home and she was crying one day, and it was like, what happened? And it was like, you know, Danny fucking touched my breast, and you know, and was this and that, and like that was it. It was all like out of clothes stuff, but it was enough, and that was it.
Yeah.
And like
it's the same charge.
And I'm like, and you know, they're like badgering me, like the police officers are like, and I'm like crying. I'm like, I don't, you know, and it's like, well, have you ever? And I'm like, well, yeah, I have like touched her breast because we hook up every day.
That's
but
what
like,
we do, yeah.
Right, you know. So I'm like, well, yes, and they're like, okay. And I'm like, well, like, no, but like, I didn't
like
do
you just
it.
admitted to it.
Yeah, so it was really like, I've never talked about it, so I'm a little bit like.
This might help you out too, because I felt better after I got mine off my chest too, seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, I kept that lodge down in there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, so it was, so it sucked, and it, like, my parents, and I was already wrapped up with the wrong people at this time, and my parents didn't want me to continue on into like the public high school. I had a connection at a private school to play football, and someone that was pulling for me there. And
What were you in football, tight end or something?
linebacker.
Okay.
And and then this whole thing happens, and it's like Danny, like what, you know, like
What are we supposed to do with you?
What are we supposed to do with you? And I'm like I don't even know. Like I don't know what to say. And when, you know, we got past it, get into high school, and what was weird was like it followed me like almost like quietly. Like there was times and like years later where someone would be like, would someone like make a comment,
Wasn't
and I
it
was
you
like,
that did that? Yeah.
and I'm like, what? I'm like how would you even know that? Like, because it's not my hometown. It's like a private school. It's like 35 minutes from our house.
Yeah.
We drive to every morning. So I'm like, so it's just fucking. It was really. It sucks. So
Yeah.
when I heard your story, I was
Especially
like,
as a kid, like no one understands the stuff you go through as a kid for doing that. And it was crazy because there's no punishment for him, because the chick that said that about me, she wouldn't take a lie detector test, so they agreed not to press charges, but it just went away, and there was no punishment for her.
And there was, I want to say like, I don't know if it went on my personal record, or I don't know what happened.
So I'll tell you, and it's how shit it is. I never even got arrested or anything. The police talked to me one time, and I said, absolutely, I'll give you a DNA test, I'll do a lie detector test, whatever the hell you guys want.
Yeah.
And I never heard from them again. And then 2 years later, when I go back to prison, they do your full intake at Alhambra, which is like this central office where they're going to tell you what yard you're going to and stuff, where they find out your charges and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And I had never been arrested, so I didn't think anything of it. And then they asked me, like, well, what about the sexual assault case? Are you okay to go on a regular yard? I was like, what's sexual assault case? And they showed me that one. I'm like, I never got arrested for that. Yeah, of course I'm okay to go on a regular yard. That wasn't me. I don't do any of that stuff. So it still stayed on my record. So like, and literally, like, I was always kind of in the back of my head on prison, because once I'm getting on the yards, and I realized, like, especially when I'm running yards, I know the juice we have, like, we can get info on anybody. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I always had that in the back of my head, and I did nothing wrong. And it doesn't really go away, and it just sucks, bro. It just sucks.
It did. Yeah, it sucked.
So
It
where'd you go after that? Because clearly we know what I did when that happened to me. Did you go down a rabbit hole like I did, or?
No, but I was going down other rabbit holes.
Okay.
I mean, so like I started smoking weed when I was like 12, 13, and it was probably like 2 times smoking where I realized like, okay, I could buy a bigger amount of this, and then I could sell it to all the other friends that are paying this amount, and then I don't have to pay for anything. And I was like, that's a better idea. And that was kind of when it started, you know. And I mean, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I cut yards. I sold firecrackers, like, you know, 2 for $5, 5 for $10 type shit. So I was like, I was always doing something as a young kid. I mean, I was selling like bag lunches in 8th grade to all these kids that, you know, like didn't have my mom or dad to make them lunch, and like my mom was just slanging them. I set my own little business up, paying mom, and like, you know, like, you know, so it was always there. So that started really early. So then when I went to high school, first of all, I was like, it was just weird because I was a public school kid. I'd already been like drinking 40s and selling weed and smoking PCP and like doing all this stuff. And I get to this school and kids are like, you smoke blunts? Like, you know, like, oh my God, you know, like, and I was like, oh, it's like, so I was just like, I guess I was like a little bit of standout, you know, a little bit like out, like, you know, all right, I don't know if this kid's cool. I think he's a little weird or dangerous or whatever. And but you know, then of course weed and drugs and me being the guy helped me to build the friendships, you know, and all that. And then I really just kind of put my parents through hell for like the next few years, just like them catching me like bagging up weed and shit like that. You know, they just caught me doing a lot of stuff, you know, like brought home by the cops this night, brought home by the cops that night. So when I was 16 or at some point, I can't remember. Well, I think it was when I got brought home by the cops one time. My parents put me in like an outpatient center, like an outpatient. I would go to this thing 4 times a week after high school, and you know, and then at 17, I went out for my birthday and like partied, just got really fucking in a bad shape, and like didn't come home until whatever time, and that was like my parents like, okay, like,
we need to do something.
You're fucking done. Like, you're staying. And then that was when I was fucking done too. So I was like, so I actually got sober. And that was when I got into the room. I mean, I was already in the rooms. I already had a sponsor. I just wasn't doing shit.
For sure.
You know, I was just a 16-year-old kid. I was like, oh, okay, I'll go to the meeting, sign the fucking paper.
Yeah.
And, but then I got sober.
16?
Yeah.
I went in there. I was in the room since I was 15, but I wasn't even driving it. I already knew I was a full-blown addict and alcoholic. Didn't have a car yet, or a license. So
Jesus.
Most people went in there 15, 16, so that's young.
Yeah. So then I got sober, you know, and I took on the lifestyle, and I changed everything. And like even in high school, and junior year I got suspended a bunch. It was just like mayhem. But then that was the same year I got sober, and then I ended up like vice president, like executive board vice president. Senior year, like changed my whole life. Like was good. Like on the.
Whenever you find that the one thing that's holding you back in life, whatever it may be, whether it's sobriety or a mental thing, it's just like a game changer. Like once you can figure that shit out, right?
Yeah. And there's phases to it, right?
Yeah,
there's like different levels.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I graduate, go to college, get a scholarship for football, and I had some shoulder issues already. I'd already had 2 surgeries.
You might be the first college guy I've had on my podcast, just so you know.
Nice.
I think you are actually.
Rad. Hell yeah.
Oh, except Sheriff Lamb maybe went to college. I don't remember exactly, but yeah, I don't want to disrespect Lamb.
Nice. So went to college, but then I messed up my shoulder. I lost my scholarship. Couldn't play ball anymore. Father lost his job, and I was like, I had been sober at school, and like I had met people that moved weight and certain things, just because I had that energy, so like I could connect with those people. And I never was doing anything, but when kind of like it came to this moment of like, oh, I need to make some money, I was like, don't worry, Dad. I was like, Mom, I got it. I'll take care of school. I was like, it's all good,
Yeah.
Like, don't worry, but take care of you guys. And that was kind of like that rebirth and back into it. And it wasn't like my dad. It's obviously not my parents' fault,
For sure.
It just was me taking advantage of a situation.
Of
like,
course.
oh, cool. It was obviously something I wanted to
Manipulating the situation.
Totally. So then I got back into it, and I was like, and I was still sober for a little while, for like about a year. Like I kept the sobriety going, but I was just like, oh, I was like, fuck it, this is better anyway.
Yeah.
And then I kind of let that go, and then went to a funeral, family funeral. I'm sharing so much. I hope I'm not talking too much.
No, let's get it.
Went to this family funeral on my dad's side, and my dad's Cuban, and I've got some fun family members that have done some interesting things over the course of their life, and been in the Cuban mafia and all kinds of stuff like that.
Oh.
So I'm at this funeral, and I run into my cousin, and who I always looked up to. He's like the big cool motherfucking cousin, Always looked up to him, so rad. And he's like, we start talking, and he's like, hey, you want to go like smoke? I was like, for real? I was like, hell yeah, let's go. Start hanging out. Then comes out the blow. And I didn't know anything about it, and I didn't fucking do it. And I didn't really want to. I was like, nah, And he starts telling me, and then I don't know if it was at that moment that I did it or sometime soon after, but then I did it. And I remember thinking, like, what's the big deal? Like, I don't feel anything, Like, why is this all the rage, right?
Really?
Like, that was what I thought when I first did it. I was like, I don't get it, And then I started to get it.
Yeah, or maybe you had some bad shit or just didn't do enough or something.
No, it was really good. It was just like doing like a little bit here and a little bit there.
Yeah.
Because it just felt sober. Like I just felt like sober.
Yeah.
And I was just getting fucked up.
Yeah.
So I felt
you felt
sober.
high, yeah.
So I'm like, I don't get it.
Like I'm supposed to be screwed up, not more alert.
Like what is right? Like
sure.
what is this?
Okay.
But then I started like grasping the whole social concept of it. Like, oh, I can get out and drink and like be fucking straight as an arrow.
Yeah.
But like my cousin was moving weight, and so I'm spending time with him, and I'm like I know a lot of people that could use this, and I was like, but I don't want to talk to a lot of people. So I was like, let me go talk to one person. So I talked to one person that I knew really well, and I was like, let me tell you, if I had something that was really good, could you move some of it? And he's like, yeah. I was like, all right, cool. So that was the beginning.
Gotcha.
And that was where it started. And I started, and I went back and got a little bit. And I went back and got twice that. I went back and got twice that. I went back and got twice that, And then the game kind of began. And with that came choices and decisions of who I was going to be and how I was going to be and how I was going to carry myself.
Yeah.
And I had I'll say this, I had a very good teacher, like I wasn't a high signer. I wasn't out there being flagrant.
Yeah.
I was very under the rug and very under the carpet. You wouldn't tell by looking at me.
For sure.
You definitely wouldn't tell by looking at me now. Like that's something that I used to do and was really good at. And things got really violent in the area I was living, which is like right outside of Philly. Like there was, like I was graduated at that point. I was just living there and like just moving stuff and there was just like a couple incidences. One in particular was someone broke in our stash spot and got a bunch of stuff, and I found them.
Oh.
And then we retaliated and there was some, just very violent. It was in the middle of broad daylight, and there's a lot of things that happened, and it was kind of like, oh shit, I don't know if I can stay in this area anymore. I might need to get out of here.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy when we think like that's how shit goes. Like we literally act like that's how the world works. Someone do something to me, I'm gonna go put my hands on them and like full on assault them or way. But it's like,
yeah.
And there's no when I think back to those times when I did that, I was like, there was no even contemplating possibly not doing it. It was like so black and white. Like this is someone did this. This is what I do. You know what I'm saying? And then like now when I hear back, I'm like, dude, who would do that? Like you risk your freedom anytime you do something like that. Like. I can't even fathom it. Every time I think about it, it just blows me away that I even did it for so long,
Yeah. I mean, and there's not really even any thinking that happens,
right?
It's just programming.
Yeah, you just do it.
It's just like, oh, okay.
But that's what we talk about. We'll get into this later. That's why we talk about rewiring your brain, Our brain is wired to that shit, which isn't normal, so then we have to rewire the whole thing. We'll get into all that stuff later, but keep going on with the upbringing, please.
Yeah, so I left and I went back to Northern Virginia, and where I'd gone to high school and stuff, and I kind of came back there, and everybody kind of had remembered me from like being 17 or 18 years old and leaving, and now I'm like, I don't know, I was in my 20s or something like that, 25 maybe or something, and no one knows anything that I'm doing, so I came back and I made a splash. And I was real quiet, and I talked to just a few people, and I went under everybody's nose, and I moved fucking.
You're like, I'm gonna do it right this time.
Yeah, and I was just moving it in all these different directions, and people losing their clientele, and just doing my thing. You know what I mean? Just doing the thing. But it was like overabundance, overindulgence, drugs, sex, women.
All that.
Just the race, the
whole lifestyle that comes.
The whole lifestyle that comes with it. I was on this run this morning, and I was thinking about it, and I was like, thinking about all this, and since we're going to talk about it today, and man, it's like when I think about all the things that were happening and that I was doing, all the times I probably should have died. All the stress that I carried, because I was always looking over my shoulder. I was always watching my rear view. I was checking to see if the feds were following me. I'm watching the people I'm moving blow to. I'm checking their people that they're selling it to. It's just
checking out the whole thing.
Full-time fucking job.
Yeah, for sure.
Of high stress and I will fucking kill you if you fuck this up.
Yeah.
And it was. I look at it now, and it's we talked about it yesterday. It's I don't tell these stories and glorify them anymore. It's not, doesn't make me feel good. It gives me a weird feeling in my stomach.
It makes me cringe when I talk about some of the stories I did. I'm like, dude, I like to preface even 5 times. So I'm like, yo, not proud of this. This is not the person I was, but however, just like you said in my thing, it was my life though, And so it's real.
Yeah, and it makes my stomach turn. And it's why I don't even want to get into the details of some of the things that happened, because it's gross. And I lost where I was going, but ultimately, I'm in this space where I'm moving a lot and I'm doing a lot of things, and I eventually decide that I'm going to take this trip around the world. And I was working at a job, and I had an incident where someone had taken a bunch of cash from me, and I went and I hunted them down, and I parked outside of their house with a shotgun and a bulletproof vest and another gun and acid and a shovel and all these things, kill and dispose.
Because that's what your brain's wired to do.
That's what I was wired to do. I had established an identity that I was so anchored into that this is who I am, so this is what I do. There's not a lot of questions, not a lot of thoughts. It's this is who I am, so this is what I do. And I adapted every single attribute and characteristic that I needed to be a successful drug dealer.
Yeah.
Hidden. And I was upset, and I went out there and I scoped out there for 3 days, and I came home and I was fucking bummed, and I was fucking I lost some money, and I was just fuck, man, I just felt damn, I'm then I started looking at then it's a little while later, I'm what am I, where am I at right now?
Okay.
What am I committed to right now?
Is this what started sparking the change?
Kinda. I eventually got back on my feet.
Okay.
I started, moving again.
Of course.
And no, actually, what happened was.
How do you get out of that without going to prison? Because seriously, for me, I don't stop until I got handcuffs on me, and then I'm like, oh shit, what was I doing?
So I did get arrested, but it wasn't for that, thank God.
Okay.
So I was sitting at work. I was doing car sales, ironically.
There we go.
I'm doing car sales and
Another
like
similar
I'm
stories,
moving
dude.
blow, you know, in the parking lots. I'm doing car sales. I'm trying to get like some tax, like some, you know, like, hey, this is where my money's coming from, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting on my computer and I'm hating my life and I'm like, Expedia, like multi-destination search, you know, Virginia to Amsterdam to Egypt to, you know, blah, 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 all the way to Tokyo. And I like click, calculate. And I'm thinking to myself, like, this is gonna be like 10 grand. It was like $4,000. It was like 7 flights, like all these different countries, all the way around the world. And I was like, what? I was like, 4,000. I was like, I can't pay for that. It's like, that's not what I expected at all. And this sparked this, like, I was like, oh man, I was like, I might do this. It's like, I've got this money, I can do this. I wanted to open up like a little Cuban bodega in the area that I was working in, but then they laid all these construction plans for this whole area, demolish all these strip malls, they're gonna build high rises. I'm like, I don't wanna be in that kind of construction war zone. So now I've got some cash that I've set aside and I'm like, I wanna do this so I can trip around the world. So I start planning this trip around the world. And then I do it. And I like handed off all of my business. I pass it on to somebody else. And I was like, all right, I'm out. You know, I'm gonna go fucking travel.
And like business to someone else.
Yeah. I was like, pay me a stipend. I was like, I'm gonna go travel.
So you just transferred your LLC over to him?
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly, right? No, so funny, the terminology, right?
Yeah. It's
So
funny you
like,
still call it business.
I give this whole thing, you know, to this guy and I'm like, I'm out. Like, and I'm like, I go and I did, and I went and traveled the world, and like, that was probably that was one of the most transformational experiences I've had.
Okay.
And the reason is because I traveled for almost 12 months, and I did like 4 or 5 months in the States, and then I traveled like 6, 7 months overseas. I did like 3 months in Southeast Asia. And I had met, you know, you're traveling, you meet so many wonderful people on the road because they're in that same energetic flow as you, right?
For
like
sure.
They're excited, they're happy, they're adventurous. And I met a lot of people, and I was trusting to a lot of people, something I was not used to at all. And at like month 10, I was hanging out. We're at like the hostel, and like we're all like all of us have just gone out for the night, and like we're hanging out. And we're just laughing so hard, like some of the hardest I've ever laughed in my life for hours. And I go back to my room, and I laid my head down, and I was like, holy shit. I was like, I don't have to be defensive. I don't have to be hardened. I don't have to block people out. I don't have to carry an energy that's heavy or angry around, and the world will love me. Like, I was like, oh shit. I was like, I can actually be myself. I can go in with like a lot of love and a lot of happy energy, and it comes back. Not like if I show up with a lot of love and happy energy, I'm taken advantage of and I'm hurt. So like I would previously show up with all this other opposite, and that was it was a magical moment. Because, you know, for 17 years, 15, 17 years, I was so wrapped into like hardened case.
Yeah.
Don't let everybody in. Be presentable, you know, but be ruthless, you know, be loving, but fucking take control, right? Like, and it was like this light bulb, and it was like the biggest, you know, that was one of the biggest transformations for me because, I mean, to let go of that was huge.
Yeah.
For me, like to let go of that, to like not have that block anymore, to feel safe enough and like comfortable enough to be like, I can like show up and be the loving person that I am and like truly, and it comes back.
It's all about just being comfortable with yourself, because more than anything, I would say 80% of people that use drugs are using drugs to numb the pain of being themselves. They don't like to be themselves, so they numb with drugs so they don't have to feel what they feel inside, and that's it.
Yeah.
You know, so if you can get comfortable with yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and be happy with what you look at, you can literally achieve anything. And it's just, it might sound simple, but it's the truth.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with that. It's one of the things I was thinking about on the way over here. I was like, you know, because I'm thinking about, you know, that transition from being a drug dealer to like that next level of my life where I become an entrepreneur. I leave everything behind. The transfer of like, I'm going to be hardened and watch every corner of my life to like, I'm going to be open and trusting and loving.
Yeah.
And that switch, I think what a lot of people that are wrapped in the game have a problem making that switch is because of this high level of unworthiness. It's a lot of subconscious shit that's like no one would admit to. No one would be like, I feel unworthy.
I'll tell you another thing. A lot of guys that are in the whether it's the dope game or something, even if they want to get out, they want to get out, but they don't or think they can't.
They think
it's because they're the man in the dope game, and they don't think that they're just going to be either a regular member of society in the other thing, or they're worried they're going to be a nobody. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got that dope dealer that's the plug and has everything, and the second he stops selling dope, if he gets sober, then what is he? He thinks he's a nobody, and that's not the case. You know what I mean? Because I always say like this: you're a nobody for a few months until you figure out what you're meant to be and what you're destined to be inside you. You know what I'm saying? Like. And then you find out you're not even the same person you thought you were. You have no idea who your true reality is because you've been numbing it with drugs. You know what I mean? And then I always just say, you just got to hold on and fight for the first few months until you realize who you are, and then you catch some traction and start catching a couple breaks instead of never catching a break before. Because when you put yourself in good situations, you're gonna start catching breaks rather than being guilty, feeling like shit that you never caught a break in your life, but you didn't put yourself in a situation to deserve a break.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That's the juice if you ask me right there.
Yeah, I dig that. 100%.
So let's get in that. So did you fully transfer out of that life after this? Okay, let's go. Let me hear some more. I didn't think so. Let me hear.
I changed a lot. It was a total game-changing, transformational experience. But I came home and I was like, I'm out of the fucking game. Like, I've wiped my hands. I did it for a long time, and I didn't go to prison. I'm like, I won. We're gonna be cool.
For sure.
6 months goes by. I'm working, and like my buddy that I had given everything to had like switched over to weed, so it was a little less like
risky,
prison-y.
Yeah. Prison. That's a good term. Yeah.
You know,
that's a good
like
term.
I was like, all right, and he's moving
Less prison-y.
he's moving a lot of it, and I'm like,
Robin's got a title now at least.
I'm
already.
like, he's like, come on, man, so you don't want to do this? I'm like, well, of course I fucking want to do it, you know? And I'm like, let me get like 10 pounds, let me see what happens, you know? And it's just like, oh, let me do that.
And real quick, just another, like a teaching one right here, that's peer pressure. Like, it doesn't stop. And I'm being serious. You'll get it at, dude, when I was 32, 33 years old, and I was still I was sober, but I was like, I still went out when I got sober because, and I don't suggest people doing this when they're fresh in recovery, but it's like, I want to go out and party and stuff like that. So you don't know what it really entails. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Anyways, keep going. Sorry.
No worries. So I got back into that, and I think, I don't know, I would say within a year, but that's probably not true. Probably within like 11 months or something. From the day I got back.
Okay.
Not from the day I started. Probably 6 months after starting. Yeah. I got popped. I was fucking around. I got off an exit too fast, and I got popped. So now I'm like, fuck, you know, and like at this point, I had just started conversations about maybe like doing a food business, like a food truck or like a taqueria in like Ibiza or something like that with some friends. And I'm like, yeah, you know, like we could do that. Like, let me know what it entails and how to get in and blah, blah, blah. So then I got arrested, and I'm like, okay, fuck. So I stop, kinda, you know, like I got to pay for a lawyer. And shit,
yeah. So now you're even smarter than smarter.
So like I'm just like a little here, a little there. I'm like, you know, from like thousands, like just a few $100. Like let me just, you know. But I know that it needs to come to an end, and.
Thank God you have the spot in your head that can realize that, dude, because I'm not joking. I don't have that in me, bro. I don't like.
Yeah.
That's why it's been like, even with all the shit I've been dealing with lately, bro, it's like I never think to drink and use because like I don't have that. I don't have what you got in your head, bro, that tells me that. You know, I don't stop until my freedom's gone and I have handcuffs and I have zero choices but to change.
Yeah.
So thank God I have that and not you, because I would have played it a little bit riskier probably. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So did you get probation for that?
I got like 30 days in jail or something like that.
Okay.
Simple.
Yeah.
Like I got really lucky. I had like 6 felonies. I also had steroids in the car. I also had some other drugs.
Okay.
So like I had like 7 felonies, and my lawyer got me a misdemeanor.
Wow.
With 30 days. I was like, fucking.
Wow. Yeah.
Like, thank you.
That's crazy.
I was like, thank you.
Yeah.
So I did like 30 days, and like, you know, by the time the sentencing came around, so this is like the end of 2011
you sat in
when I got
for
arrested.
Like 9 days.
What's that?
I'm saying
I
after
sat in detention for like 7-9 days. So I went back in for like 3 weeks or something like that. So at the end of 2011 is when the arrest happened, and then going into 2012 was when it was like, okay, I'm gonna start a food truck with my buddy. We're gonna start it here locally. this is what I'm going to do.
Okay.
And I just started pouring all my attention. And I'm working a job during the day. I'm working at a gym, like selling memberships.
Sober or?
No.
Okay.
No. Still using, drinking, doing blow.
Yeah.
Just partying, being in the scene.
Why not? We're entitled to do that, right? You know?
Yeah. And I mean, like, it was interesting because, like, I had built up so much clout at, like, and just at that point, like, I wasn't really paying for anything. People were just like, oh, Danny, I got you. Like, fucking, because I've been shelling it out for 15 years, you know? And, you know, so it's like, you know, I was kind of like just living off the land a little bit, you know? And, like,
Been there, bro.
it's like, all right, cool, man. Fuck it, you know? So we're working, we're building this thing out. We launched a food truck in 2012, and it just blows up. We're you know, we're smart. I mean, like, we're good business heads. We did a lot of research. We put this thing together really smart and launched this truck, and then it really takes off. And, like, we got recognized by Forbes, third coolest food truck in America.
What kind of food was on it?
Burritos.
Okay.
Yeah, it's called Rito Loco.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So we did a real simple. Everything was like homemade. It was all my Willa's recipes, like on the Cuban side of my family. Just fucking good stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
So this starts to blow up, and still using, still partying. Interesting, because, like, I felt like I was actually enjoying partying, like, because for the other 15 years I would, like, party, but I was, like, on the clock.
Yeah, for sure.
I was always, like, watching, you know, and, like, I didn't.
You're at the party, but you're in the back room with the door closed.
Yeah, like, I
sure.
wasn't, like, and I wasn't out there, like, in the street or, like, you know, moving, like, 20 bags and stuff. It's like, it was just, like, big moves, but, you know, I'm always watching, I'm always looking around. So now I felt like I was like, oh, I can't go to jail. We get fucked up.
Yeah.
So then we just kept ripping, you know, and, like, just getting more and more fucked up. And, like, living this entrepreneurial life, but, like, still partying and, like, trying to pull this thing together and, like,
You're an entrepreneur with no LLC.
Yeah, fucking, like, you know, working 18 hours, just like really grinding. And then we started opening up catering companies. We got a brick and mortar, and it really started to do well. And then I had this other moment, and, like, I was at a party, and, like, it was a Sunday party. So most people are there on day 4. And I'm, like, sitting there, and it was, like, a party that we regularly went to on Sunday. And I'm, like, looking around the room, and everybody's, like, I'm just, like, looking around, and I'm just, like, and I'm not, it's not to discredit. Like, I love all those people that are there.
Like,
I was just kind of, like,
what am I doing here?
What a room. I think I'm in the wrong room. Like, so one of the things that, so you say you don't have this cool-off switch. So one of the things I would say that I do have is, like, this need to evolve. Like, this urge to experience, like, whatever is next in this next level. And that's what pulled me away from the dope. It wasn't that. It was just like, all right, cool. Like, I fucking did this. Like, there's something else. I need to do something else.
Okay.
And then in that space, I'm looking around and I'm like, like, there's people that are 10, 20 years my senior. They've been coming to the same party for a long time. And I'm like, I don't want to be doing that in 20 years. I want to be doing something totally different.
Yeah.
Like, I do have a vision of a fun, big life. And I'm like, but I don't want to be doing that, you know? And it's not to discredit anybody. It just wasn't for me.
Yeah.
And that was when that started to spark, and I started to really ask questions about the lifestyle I was in. And you know, I started to make some changes in, like, what I was doing and how I was going out. I got married at this point.
Okay. How long have you been married right now?
7 years.
Nice.
I think it'll be 7 years this October.
Cool.
So 2015, 2016 or something, I was, like, really getting stressed out. So, like, the relationship with me and my business partner is, like, super strained at this point. You know, we're both fucking pissing each other off, and, like, I'm in the spot working every day, and, you know, he's going on benders every weekend. And it was just kind of like, fuck, man, like,
Yeah.
you know, and look, I'm not saying anything was his fault. Both of our faults, you know, like, it's just, we had different values and, you know, process and patterns, and it just wasn't in alignment with each other.
They always say it's only enough when it's enough, and enough's different for everybody, bro.
Yeah,
You know
and I mean, he's turned the business around. It's super successful. Like, I'm so happy and proud of him, you know. But during that time, it was tough, you know, and it was wearing on me, and, like, I was starting to carry a lot of stress and anxiety and just depression and frustration, anger. And I was consistently waking up, like, every morning at 4 o'clock or something, but I would wake up, like, I'm in thought. Like, I'm like, like, wheels are spinning 100 miles an hour. I got, like, fires I'm putting out in my head immediately after waking up, and, like,
That's no good.
No good. 100 miles an hour.
The morning sets the tone for the day, bro. Like,
100 miles an hour from the start. And I looked at my wife, and I was like, I was like, something's like, this is no way to live. Like, I was like, I think I'm gonna die. Like, I might have a heart attack or something.
Yeah.
Like, I need to figure out there's a better way to do this. I'm not doing it that way.
Okay.
And she was like, why don't you start listening to Tony Robbins? I was like, you mean that guy from the Shallow Hal movie? That was all I know. I was like, that dude? She's like, yeah. I was like, okay. And I started listening to him in the morning when I was getting the restaurants ready. You know, I was in the restaurant at 6 a.m. We didn't open them till 11. So like from that 5 hours, I had them in my ears and I'm just listening, and shit starts clicking.
That's why I was with Priscilla. That for me, dude. I started with the MFCEO podcast, and that's I told him that like a few weeks ago. You know, he's the one that started this whole podcast thing. I would listen to his stuff, and when I would do cardio, I listened to it, and I'd literally just want to run through a wall when I would listen to it. You know, and I would like get off the freaking treadmill. You know, but that's what I needed. You know.
Yeah.
It's just the similarities when you can feel someone talking and you notice the similarities there, and then you know the situation that they're in now because you look at Priscilla, bro, and it's like when you hear him talk, it's like, holy shit, he had struggles like a mofo too, bro, like real struggles. Well, people just think of him, he's like some spoon-fed whatever. Like that dude did that shit by himself with his brother and like their bare hands and started with absolutely nothing and just shows it's possible. You can build an empire, bro, as long as you believe in yourself enough.
Yeah. Well, see, and let's touch on that. That's a really important part, right? Like, that's something I talk to my guys about when I start working with them. It's like one of the first things, and it's the first two things we cover. What's going in your ears, what's coming out of your mouth.
That's good.
Right? Because like, just like you said, like there's a lot of guys that, you know, they're like, this is like, you know, I can't get out. Like their mentality and the language that they use about their life is like, I can't get out, or like I'm gonna be a loser, I'm gonna be a nobody. And then if we're just surrounded by people that are doing the same shit all the time, that's all that's going in our ears. Yeah. And you wanted to, you know, you in this journey to make a change, and me too. Listening to someone, just listening to a story of possibility, and it's like you get wrapped in it and you're like, oh shit, and you're just inputting new information all the time, and the stuff starts coming out of your mouth starts becoming different. It's massive. I mean, it's so powerful, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, that was like the launch pad when that started happening. I started changing things. I started like putting things into action that I was listening to. It changed the way I operated.
So you picked up a lot of your stuff from probably Robbins himself, actually, then?
Yeah.
Because you're very, like, knowledgeable, and, like, I love, like, the mental stuff you do, like, with the head and all that stuff. You know, that's
Thanks,
like it's cool stuff. That's what I want to get into. Because you have a thing called Power of Identity or something like that, correct?
Yeah.
Can you break off a little bit of that for the listeners, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So
I just want you to drop some fire on them, like especially the dudes that are in prison, that are like, even dudes that aren't in prison. I mean, there's big time CEOs that need mental strength.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So
we all
it's
need
for
it.
everybody, bro. I still
we
need
all
it, bro.
need it.
I needed it this morning. You know what I mean?
And the thing is like we're never not going to need it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like we all say that. I hear a lot of successful people that like invest in yourself, right? Like, well, how do we invest in myself if I don't have any money? And like, I listened to YouTube, and I invested $9.99 a month, so I would have no commercials, and I could just listen to that shit while it played in my pocket, and I could use other apps, and it never stopped playing.
There you go.
That was my investment.
Yeah.
Right? But it's real, and like the idea that you have all these things that we create, even the fucking empire that we build in the drug game or in prison or however you look at it, it came from inside of you. Like, you're the fucking creator. You're the idea machine. You're the one pumping out $1 million ideas every day. So if that's the source, then we got to feed the source.
Yes.
Right? Like, we got to input new information and really soak that in, become the avid learner, like, at all times. Because technology is faster than us.
Yes.
And it's always going to be faster than us.
For sure.
And we're not built to operate with the technology that we have. Which is why a lot of us are stressed out, which is why there's 28 hours in a day now instead of 24. You know, like, it's just like you're always fucking on because you're always connected.
Yeah.
And it's cool. I love it. I'm not bashing it. But I think it's important to recognize, like, that's not going to stop. That's going to keep going.
Yeah.
And it's going to go faster and faster. And it's going to create more and more creature comforts for us, which is going to separate us further from who we are as humans, which is like someone that's born in struggle and strife at risk of death, like thousands of years ago as cavemen and whatever. Like, we're born saber-toothed tigers, like things are gonna kill us. We're born in struggle. We can fucking overcome anything. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like, we can do anything. But the more creature comforts that we have because of technology, the more stress that shows up because we don't know how to solve as many fucking problems. At least we feel like we can't because we don't have to. Because I can push a button in my phone and probably solve almost any problem.
For the most part, yeah.
For the most part.
For sure.
Because it could even be just pushing a button to call somebody that can help solve my problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah.
So when it comes to identity, and I talk about this like power of identity, and it's like this power of choice. When I sat outside that guy's house and I was ready to kill him, I was ready to dispose of his body, was because I had made an identity choice. This was who I was and what I was going to be. And when I decided to be a food truck operator, and I'm like, I'm going to be the best at this fucking job. And I'm going to do whatever it takes, you know, at my capacity of what I knew. I did whatever it took. Then I became immersed into personal development.
Okay.
Right? And then I start realizing that there's a whole nother level to me and to what I'm doing.
That's what I'm saying. So how'd you get into doing the life coaching and personal development stuff?
So, because I immersed myself into learning, I was making a lot of changes in my life, and I was also posting a lot about the stuff that was going on, you know, and posting all these changes and making motivational posts and things like that on social media.
I wish I had an Instagram.
Yeah. So I'm doing this, and you know, it's starting to become like 2018. This is the year that I actually decided to leave my business. So I had been in personal development for a couple years now, and I've really amplified a lot of things, but I started to recognize like, oh shit, like there's a cap to my own personal development, and it's my environment. And unless I'm willing to step out of this environment that I'm at, recreate myself or whatever I have to do, I'm going to cap my PD. Like, it's going to be under this thing. Yeah. So I made the choice to leave, you know, and I really blossomed after that. And I went and I got certified in neuro-linguistic programming. After that, I launched my coaching business, and there was a lead up to it. So basically, when I left my business, people started hitting me up, or like looking for advice, and I didn't have to work. I was free. I felt like so happy, and I was like, absolutely, let's have coffee, let's have lunch, you know, like let's do this, let's do that. They start turning into weekly meetings. I'm coaching this person on how to scale his business. I'm coaching this person on how to deal with his mental and emotional, you know, baggage and experience. And this guy lose a bunch of weight. You know, I'm helping this person over here with his food truck and his restaurant business. And I'm just loving this. And I go get certified in NLP, and it's with like 80 other people that are all like high-powered coaches.
For people that don't know, I don't even know what the hell it is.
It's probably one of the most powerful skills that you could learn.
Okay.
And if you're in prison and you want to learn something and you want to master something, you want to elevate yourself, I would highly recommend that you learn NLP. NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Neuro-linguistic programming, okay.
It's essentially learning how to use the language that we speak and the body language to reprogram your brain, you know? So like essentially like our nervous system's like a processing computer, right? It's like a supercomputer, right? It's kind of like a phone, and our phone has all these apps, and we get this phone and we get all these apps, but we don't know how to fucking program this thing. All right? Like we don't know how to like reprogram shit. We can drag an app and do whatever, but like I can't go in there and recreate and change all this stuff and like rewrite code. NLP is the language that teaches you how to do that to your own body.
Gotcha.
So the reason I got into it is I went to, you know, I'd been listening to Tony Robbins forever. I went to his UPW event, which was righteous. You know, I walked on 15 feet of burning hot coals, and you know, it's fucking cool.
Did you really?
Yeah, it's fucking rad.
Did your feet burn?
No.
What?
Yeah, it's like a whole mind over matter thing. It's incredible.
How do your feet not burn though?
It's like it's weird, right? Like, I mean,
because I've done the cold plunge, which is mind over matter, but like that doesn't do anything to you. It's still hot, cold on your feet.
So essentially, the technique is an NLP technique, and it's an anchoring technique. What he does during the entire first day is he anchors you into your most powerful state, into your most powerful confident state. And he has a technique that he uses over and over for 15 hours and anchors you into this state. And then you rehearse like 100 times, like step on the grass, and like you're like give me your move, like show me your power. You know, and it's just like head up, swift feet, walk across. And you're like practicing it in your mind during this event over and over and over and over and over. And then you go outside and it's just like, and then all of a sudden you're at the other end and there's someone and they're just taking the coals off your feet and you're standing in some water and it's like, it's done. And you just fucking walked across it. There were people that burned their feet.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
So it looks like the movie Ghost. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Where he's trying to move the fork and he's like, he can't until he gets his mental strength. It's like that time. There we go.
Yeah. Exactly. So I go to this event, and then I'm like, I'm so blown away about what he does. And I'm like, well, how the fuck did he get started? Tony Robbins got started as NLP, and he mastered this technique.
Wow.
And at 18 years old, he was like the wonder kid, like millionaire 18-year-old kid, because he could clear anybody of any phobia you know, at any time, and like could rewire your brain in a single session. Wow. And he'd do this shit on stage, and he would just like
even a brain like mine.
What's that?
Even a brain like mine in one session?
Yeah, dude, it's wild, man. And he would do all this like wild stuff, and he became this master at it. And that was the technique that he first started at and learned. And I was like, well, if that's where he started, I was like, I want to fucking learn that.
Wow.
So I went and learned. I learned that and got certified as a practitioner for NLP. And at that event, you know, now I'm working with all these people, you know, just for free, just for fun. I really enjoyed it. I'm surrounded by 80 coaches that are all learning this NLP, you know, and they're like, dude, like you're a coach, you know, like you've got the knowledge, you've got the expertise, you have the life experience. Mm-hmm. Like you have the life experience like not a lot of other people have, which is the biggest one. Yeah. You know, and it's like, and you're doing it right now. You're literally doing it right now. You just haven't decided that that's what you're going to do. You haven't made a decision that that's going to be your identity.
That's a good one.
So before you leave here, announce it on Facebook. Announce that this is your new path. And I did.
How long ago was that?
September like 15th, 2018.
Nice, cool.
Yeah.
That's what's cool. And that one, the real thing I'll take from your story, dude, is, and for people in prison can learn this, there's so many different hustles you can have out here. Like you don't have to go work construction. You don't have to, I mean, you could literally be an entrepreneur getting out of prison now if you know how to work your phone good enough, especially if you apply some of the stuff that we're teaching you when you're in prison right now. Like there's a million different hustles. People always ask what I'm doing. Like, so you still sell cars and do the podcasting? I'm like, dude, no, I haven't been in the car business for a year. I do 20 other little hustles. I mean, I got a good credit card processing thing right now. So shout out real quick, anybody doing credit card processing, if you want lower rates, shoot me a DM or come find me. I'll hook you up there. There's just a million different hustles that you can do that, bro. And you've done a few of them. It's just about literally making the decision, which is the biggest. I feel like that's the biggest thing for me. You have to just have your mind fully made up and then just put in the work, you know? Yeah. But a lot of people never convince themselves that they're ready to take the next step. Yeah. And that's the death.
Yeah. And it's like we said, right? There's an unworthiness a lot of times that's under the carpet that says like, well, I probably don't deserve that. Like I've done a lot of bad shit, or like this is just who I am. This is what I'm good at. Yeah. And that's where we get to start. That was mine, bro.
I was like, I don't fucking deserve anything good. Like all the shit, even though I got 12 years in prison for a bullshit burglary charge, like I could argue that the shit I did in prison was worse than anything I ever done in my life. You know what I'm saying? So then I figured like I deserved prison and I didn't deserve to have a good life. Yeah. And then I felt like I didn't deserve any of the shit that I've had now because I didn't think I had a chance of getting it. You know what I mean? So when it all goes to the mental thing, and like, I know we keep saying it, but that just shows how much. I always say this, dude, there's 100 myself, and I would say I'm pretty mentally strong. I still literally go through 100 mental battles every single day. Dude, I went through 5 on the way to the gym today. No joke. I kept wanting to turn around and then go this way and then do this. And I was like, I'm just going to do this little half-ass workout. And it's like, bro, as long as you just can win those battles in your head, you can literally do anything. Yeah. But it's never going to go away. You just got to figure out how to win the battles and get used to it, you know? Because, and then now it's like, I know it's like, I look at it like my brain's just trying to screw me over. You know what I'm saying? Like I can chuckle at them sometimes. When I tell myself like, oh, you don't want to work out, it's like, yeah, I do. You know what I'm saying? That's what I do, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And you just got to learn how to channel that stuff and be cognizant and be aware of them. You know what I'm saying? Because if you have no idea and they're just flying at you and you have no idea what the hell it is, you're going to fumble on them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Being aware is a big thing that can save your life too.
It is. And I think it all starts with that. It starts with taking full responsibility. Like you're the fucking creator of everything that's going on.
Absolutely.
You know? Everything's your fault.
Yeah.
But because if you take that responsibility, then you can change anything that you want and then you can start being aware, right? Yeah. Like, and I think that's key. And that's why I say, like, if you're in prison, you want to do something, like, start learning NLP. Like, here's what I come across a lot. I really would love to find my passion. I'd love to discover my purpose, right? Mm-hmm. And the problem is that they're looking for their passion and looking for their purpose. But you're looking for the wrong thing. You need to be looking for the skill set that you're excited about or curious about. Because when you develop a skill set, that creates a passion.
There we go.
Like, looking for passion is bullshit, and it's a fucking endless road, and it's a loop. Because action's what creates insight.
I need Brad Lee's dropping bombs thing, because he just dropped some fire right there. That's real, bro.
Thank you. So
shout out to where's Bradley's bomb guy? I need that little bomb sound
here. Hell yeah. So, but the action creates the insight. And a lot of times people go inverted or inner to like what is it that I want? Like what do I really want to do? And that's not where we're going to find it, because you're right. The mind is programmed to resist our growth. Our mind is programmed to keep us safe. That's it, period. Yeah. To keep us safe. And what is safe? Safe is sitting on the fucking couch doing fuck all. Yeah. That's safe, right? Like it doesn't factor in like if I'm eating 12 donuts every day, I'm going to get heart disease.
Yeah.
It just factors in like, oh, this helps me slow down and stay safe. Like it doesn't think about all that stuff. It doesn't give a shit if you're depressed or anxious. It doesn't care.
Also doesn't think about the possibilities if shit does go right and it does work out in your favor. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Right? So if you want to find your passion, if you have the mentality of, well, I don't even know what I would do if I didn't stick to crime or if I didn't stick to this life. I don't even know who I could be. Then my suggestion is to start listening to stories of people that have radically changed their life. Get connected to the possibility, because curiosity will get you through the door. Like curiosity is what sparked every transformation in my life. It was this idea of like, I wonder what if I did that. And everybody has them, and they're whispers, and that's the problem, is that our ego shouts and our intuition, our soul just whispers.
Because
that
that
just
safe
drops
voice
little notes.
dumbs it down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Seriously.
It's those little things where we go like, like, I wonder what it would be like if I didn't have to look in my rearview mirror all the time.
But then, you know,
And
it's
then
usually
it's
the next
gone.
thought, because it is even for me. I wonder what it would be like if I could do that. That'd be cool. But I can't do that. He does that. All right. You know what I'm saying? I don't have that skill set he has. Who the hell knows? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
My head still does it too.
Yeah.
And that's everybody's next response. You know, I used to think that when I look at dude, Bradley for I'm like, God, dude, those dudes with those badass podcasts. You know what I'm saying? I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
You know?
And now you do.
Now look at us.
Yeah.
But that just goes with anything.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in there and you're wondering and you're trying to figure out what's your next move in life, I'd say just have fun exploring the things that make you excited.
Yeah.
And get developed in those skill sets. You start developing this. That's what happened to me.
Yeah.
I got good at personal development. I developed a skill set to heal myself.
Literally.
To heal my own mind, right? To heal my body, to heal the way I felt, the way I think, and the way I move. And all of a sudden, I was like, this is fucking fun. I love this.
Turn a
shit, I
passion
can create
into
a business
income.
around this. Right.
And people always say, it's so cliche, you never do a day working if you love what you do. It's the truth though, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like you can, and anybody in prison, like find your purpose, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? Like there is a spot for you in this world, and there is a plan for you. I don't have it. Search it out, but there is an answer for whatever you're struggling through right now. It's just about putting the work in, you know, and not being complacent and lazy, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, you know, one thing I can say is that, so one of the things that I work with a lot of people on is perspective. I think
that's my biggest perspective and gratitude, my two life changers, if you ask me.
Yeah, I have a saying, like, I don't think that success requires sacrifice. I think success requires sacrifice is a bullshit response. I think success requires perspective.
That's a good one.
That's what I think.
Okay.
Like, is it sacrifice? Like, am I sacrificing this or that? Like, maybe, you know, or maybe I'm not sacrificing anything. Maybe I'm being really fucking smart. Maybe on a macro level.
Maybe you're doing yourself a favor by distancing yourself from something instead of sacrificing it.
Yeah, maybe on a macro level, I'm sacrificing time in this space, maybe with my family or with my son or whatever, for this amount of time. But that allows me this amount of time to spend time with him in the future. On a macro level, maybe I'm not sacrificing anything. And I think perspective is really where it starts for a lot of us. And like that's why I say getting in touch with hearing stories about what's possible for us, you know, like breaking out of the slump that's like, this is who I am and this is all I can do. Like there's so many people that have made these transformations, you know. I'm looking at one of them, I'm having a conversation with one of them, right? Like, and it's one of the things that I love the most. And what I can say is that the struggle that you've experienced, every fucking trauma that you've had to go through and that you're working through is for a purpose, and more than likely it's to help another through the same thing.
Yep, I got goosebumps. So I think that's about my 6th time with goosebumps today. Yeah,
Nice.
seriously, it's the truth.
Oh yeah. So, you know, it's a perspective shift.
Yeah.
It's like,
And
I
what's-
can't believe it,
when-
this is my fucking life. Or it's like, oh fuck, I'm going through this because this is gonna give me something really powerful.
And then when you get there, like for myself, it all made sense to me. You know what I'm saying? Like I never could understand, like that's why I gave up on God, and I could never understand why God would give me 12 years in prison, and I'd go through all that shit I went through in prison. But then like when I found my purpose and everything, like literally it all made sense to me. I was like, I was put in there to go through all that bullshit because I'm tough and I can get through it. And now I can help other people, because even if it's not prison you're faced with something like that, some people, just like I said, we always say they're weak-minded. Like people can like, bro, someone can cut them off and it can literally ruin their week. You know what I'm saying? That's how weak mentally people are. So now it's like, I feel like I'm here just to show people that they can overcome stuff and achieve stuff. And a lot of times it takes people to listen to like only 2 minutes of my story, not even the full thing. And then they're like, I'm like, you still think you got it bad? No, I didn't think so. All right, let's do this work then, you know? So it works.
Yeah, it does. You know,
What is the greatest thing? I want to know this because, you know, I love the greatest joy in my life now is helping people. You know, like when I see the lights click on, or when I see someone like that thinks they can't stay sober, and they get some traction and stay sober and do the damn thing, like that is what makes my life like more happy than anything. Now it used to be the cars and buying cool stuff, and now it's like helping people get sober. So like, what do you think are the greatest joys that you find in life coaching? And yeah, I just want to know about that, like the greatest joys, because I can't imagine doing that for a living, how positive and just good it makes you feel on a daily basis, changing people's lives for a living.
Yeah. So, great question. Thanks for asking that.
Because another thing is too, is the more people, and I always share this, the more people that you do help, and when you are helping, you're out of your own head. So all those battles I keep having in my head, I'm not having them if my head's fixing somebody else's problems right now. Yeah.
And I mean, as a coach and as someone that provides support and care, like we're our number one client. Everybody we're helping, there's a little energetic tie to us at the same time. And that message that we're speaking out is pretty much usually what we need to hear anyway.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, I love that. You know, okay, I'll give you a couple answers. Cool. I have a selfish answer. It's really fun. So like the thing that I say about life coaching, what I think is so magical and fun about it, and it's one of my greatest joys of actually choosing this direction in life, is I get to do any single thing that I ever wanted that will improve me daily.
It's good.
Like if I want to spend 3 hours at the gym because it's gonna make me healthy, I can do that.
I've seen it.
Yeah, right. Like if I want to, you know, go to take a solo trip because it's gonna be time that I get to reconnect. Like everything that I do is work, right? But every part of my life, or every part of my work, is my life too, right? Like, and it's like a guy's trip is part of the work, because the fun and the healing and the good shit that we're gonna do together is gonna bring me back a new man. And it's one of the things that I love most about it, is that like I get to constantly evolve and be the example, and like it's part of like my duty, like not just for myself.
I love that you said that.
You know, but like for others.
Yeah, I say now it's like it's and I use that exact word. It's my duty now to be of service and to share my experience with drugs and alcohol and how I've turned my life around since I've been sober. And that's why I say, because like I don't drink, use, haven't in almost 6 years, hasn't even crossed my mind. No matter what I go through, it never crosses my mind. Like that's the game changer for me right there. And I know that'll never ever happen again. But I still go to give back, just to try and keep the gratitude high and always keep my perspective high, because it keeps it fresh in my head, knowing where I came from, so that no matter how bad something is that day, as long as my perspective is right and I know where I came from, in the grand scheme of things, it's something really small.
Yeah.
But I could turn into something huge and ruin my day and catch a case over it. You know, or if I have the right perspective, it's something small and it's a speed bump and I keep moving.
Yeah. It all depends on what we give meaning to, what the meaning that we give things are in our life.
Absolutely.
Right? Like, what's the meaning that I'm going to give this experience, or that thing that person said to me, or the person that cut me off, or whatever other bullshit. Like, what's the real meaning I'm going to give to it? Does it mean that I suck? Does it mean that I mess things up? Does it mean this or that? Or is it just part of this thing that I'm going through?
One other question I want to ask you, because I feel like this could help a lot of the viewers that are sitting locked in cells right now, is, and I was listening to you on the podcast on the way over here, and you were talking about, I think Rob Bailey was talking about how he tried to do like a 6 mile run with you or whatever. Or you were saying you were dead through mile 19, and then you had 6 miles, your next 6 miles. I just want some advice, even for myself, but for the listeners, like, what is your advice and what do you use to channel that when you're like saying you're done and you have 6 miles left to go run? How do you get your head to go from, I can't do this anymore, to doing, because we all can if we say we can't do it. Real quick funny story, I was spotting a dude at the gym yesterday, right? And this big native dude, he asked me, I was like, how many are you gonna get? He's like, I'm gonna get 5, right? Dude, he cranks out 4 like nothing. And then goes to do 5th and it just pauses on his chest. And I'm like, hit him up afterwards. I'm like, do you know why that just happened? He's like, why? I was like, because you told yourself you're only going to get a hit 5. You were cranking at 4, like you literally could have hit 8 in your sleep, bro. Right. And then since you told yourself that you could only hit 5, you instantly struggled on your 5th rep. And no joke, bro, he couldn't push it up. That's how fucking strong our mind is, you know? And it's literally that strong. But if you can channel it in the right way and use all that strength that we fucking have there for something positive, it's a game changer. And we're all unstoppable. Now, that's why we share. I'm no better than anybody else. I'm the biggest screw up one of the biggest screw ups on the face of the fucking earth. Like literally, bro. And what I've learned is that I can use all my screw ups and all the bad shit I did. And if I put even half of that into positive shit, my life gets better. And I use my fucking screwed up story to help people not do what I did and better themselves and better the world, you know? And that's going to be the mission of mine for the rest of my life, you know? And I've always said that I feel like for the rest of my life, I'm going to be righting the debts and wrongs that I did when I was a kid. You know what I'm saying? And as long as I keep that mindset that I have a long way to go to right all the wrongs I did, I'm going to always be in the clear with that stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's how I like to look at life.
Hell
so
yeah.
Here, let's.
So I'll answer that.
Please,
I'm going to answer a couple of them.
Sorry, I got rambling.
No, it's all good. You kidding me? I've been talking a ton.
It is my show.
That's right. So what I love the most is I help people reconnect to what it means to have a limitless lifestyle, like a limitless possibility lifestyle. Like that's the thing that I believe in the most, that like we are as humans just absolutely limitless. And I use a quote from Rich Litvin that's, you know, when I talk about what I do with people is I help powerful people remember just how powerful they actually are.
That's a good one.
You know, and like I help them connect to that power. And when I get to see that come alive, it usually shows up because I train people to do ultras. So like it usually shows up as like, holy shit, I never ran a day in my life and I just ran 25 miles. I can do anything. Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
It shows up as the relationship that I have with my son and my daughter right now is through the roof. Thank you for helping me heal. Those things, I can do anything right now. Like when they heal something, when it's a relationship, like usually men come to me because they're super successful, but on their route, they've sacrificed their health, their relationships, and their joy. That's what I help them restore. Awesome. Right? But in that process, we help them become so powerful in all these areas of life. Because like most people are showing up with like one or two that they have. Like I'm good at business, I'm good at health, you know, but like relationships, all this other stuff, like feeling, you know, experiencing joy, like personal adventure, I'm sidebar.
Yeah.
So that's my biggest joy, is helping people really break out and like experience that full spectrum of life. And there was a second question that you had, and I was going to tie it together, and I forget what it was. Do you remember what it was?
I don't remember. I remember just actually like the most beneficial and how good it feels to be a life coach and see people change.
Yeah, that's the most beneficial. And there was something that you said I was going to tie together, and I'm feeling a little blank right now. So I'm not totally
it's all
sure.
good. It happens, bro.
But
can you give any, if that comes back to you, probably got 5 or 10 minutes left. I want to kind of wrap this up with. I like to really tailor this to people in prison. That's like my passion, you know what I'm saying? Any advice you can give dudes coming out? Like, what's the first steps that they should do, mental wise, or how to get to like if they want a life coach or anything like that? I want to try and get these guys just to give a little bit of positive stuff to dudes that are getting out of prison. You know what I'm saying? Just to know that the dudes getting out of prison are just like you and me, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So the way I would phrase this is like, you know, consider that your life is a movie, okay, and you're the director of your life, okay? So however you direct the scenes in your life are going to play out how the movie plays out, right? So what I would recommend is putting people in the scenes that are telling you information and giving you stories that help you to go in the direction of the movie that you want to create.
Wow, that's fire.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, I didn't think you'd come up with something that good. That's really good. Yeah.
That's the first time I've ever said that.
I think it's the seventh time I got goosebumps. That's some fire right there. No, that is really good. And then look at like if you're prison stand, bro, it's halfway through. You know what I'm saying? Right. The movie ain't even over yet.
I mean, look at people like Watson Fit, right? He's got all his whips. He's got his life. He's done it. You know, like wrong to strong. Like there's people out there. There's people out there that are doing this, and they are sharing their truth for you. It's for you. Literally for the guy that's like, you know, I don't know what to do. Just get a hold of a phone and a search engine. Yeah. And just look for people that have done what you've done. Like we learn, I believe, like through captivating stories of things that we are drawn to.
That's how I learned.
Right? Like we have a spiritual need to evolve, grow, and contribute. That's like it's embedded in us as human beings. Yeah. So like this evolution, it comes through what we are drawn to. And we're drawn to, you know, I mean, yes, who we hang out with, but who we put in the scene. Yeah. Like we put those people in the scene. I know what it's like to like have no friends anymore because you change your direction in life. And it can be scary and it can feel lonely. And I promise one thing I can recommend to everybody is like, everything is temporary. Nothing is fucking permanent. So whatever feeling that you're going through, it's just a temporary experience and it'll never last forever.
Yeah.
Put the people in the scenes that make your movie better, right? Everybody loves an underdog story.
Yeah.
And if you're in prison, guess what, man? You have a fucking 8-figure story that you're sitting on.
Literally.
And if you handle your life right and do the right things, you start putting your story out there, you're not only going to help people and change the world, but you're going to make all the money that you could ever want.
Yeah.
And you'll have all the fame and do whatever you want with it. And you can help whoever you want, right? Like, you're sitting on a gold mine, and it's not the old life.
Yeah. No, it ain't.
Right? Oh, so this is what I was going to say.
And
this is the thing that I think will be really helpful. A lot of times I help people vision their future self, their 8-figure self, their 9-figure self, whoever that might be, right? And I help them get connected to who that person is, right? But there's another very valuable step there, and it's this understanding that you are not your most valuable at that spot. Who you are right now today is the most valuable version of yourself. Because the person that you are today is going to make the decisions that creates the person of the future. So it doesn't matter what your past looks like. It doesn't matter how much bullshit that you've been through. It doesn't matter how much wrong you've done. It doesn't matter how many people that you've hurt. Because that doesn't create or dictate the value of who you are today. Because the value of who you are today is created by the decisions that you're going to make today. That's it. That's it. The homeless person that becomes a millionaire, multimillionaire, was not more valuable as a multimillionaire. They were the most valuable when they were sitting on that fucking corner, homeless, cold, starving.
Talking about Joey Landon from last week?
Oh, I'm just talking about in general. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Slamming dope, living under a bridge 9 years ago. Lived under a bridge, now owns Sanctuary Recovery Centers, a mechanic shop, all of it.
They were most valuable at that space when they decide that I'm going to make the decision to change my life. Most valuable version of you, and that's who you are right now. So it doesn't matter who you were in the past, and it doesn't matter what the color of the future looks like, because everything that you do today, it's where all your power lands.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. What a perfect way to end the show there, buddy. Thank you so much for being here. I know a lot of the guests are going to get some fire content from that stuff. You drop some straight fire here. Where can they find you? Your website is what?
Yep.
Is it Peak Life now? You want to drop off your thing so my guests can know where to find you?
I am DanielDiaz.com. That's how you can find me. Peak Life Now is my Instagram. You can definitely track me down there.
Cool. Do you like having an Instagram account? Because I used to love when I had an Instagram account.
You know what's funny is that like all of my business has come from Facebook.
Really?
And I've now I'm just like, all right, now I'm like, all right. Because like when I started, I was like, I want to get my Instagram up. And like a mentor was like, where do you make your money? I'm like, Facebook. He's like, what the fuck do you care about Instagram for?
See, mine's Instagram.
He's like, just put your energy into Facebook. And I was like, okay. But now things are rolling, and I'm like, all right, now it's time to up the Instagram.
There you go.
But Peak Life Now is my company. It's the name, and you're going to see a lot more come from that brand. Ultimately, the meaning behind it is that, you know, it's not that we are in search of this perfect, beautiful life, right? Because everything that we have today, this most valuable version of us, is where we get to actually experience our peak life. It's right fucking now.
That's awesome.
And the way that your perspective shines is what will create that real truth and that meaning. So,
Bam. There we go. I almost don't even need to end the show. Just let him do it all. Anyways, thank you for being here, Danny. That
Awesome
was
to
some
be here,
fire,
man.
bro. I hope everybody got a good listen to this. And thank you for tuning in. We will see you guys next week.
Peace.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe wherever you get your podcast and leave us some feedback. We would love to know what you think. You can find everything discussed in this episode and more in our show notes below or petermeyerhoff.com. I am Peter Meyerhoff, and you've been listening to the Roll Call with Chappie podcast.